Commander Alan Rogers stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the vast emptiness of space. His ship moved silently through the darkness, part of a fleet of 20 vessels from different alien races. They all had one mission: to find and stop the Warbeast. Rogers was tired. He hadn't slept well in days. The reports kept coming in. Another colony destroyed, another outpost turned to dust. Always the same story: complete destruction, and a single survivor left to tell others what had happened. "Commander Admiral Pax wants to speak with you," said Lieutenant Pete Garcia, breaking the silence on the bridge. Rogers nodded and walked to the communication screen. The face of Admiral Pax appeared, a tall Andorian with metallic blue skin and eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light of his own ship. "Commander Rogers, we have new information," said the Admiral. His voice sounded like stones grinding together. "The Warbeast has attacked the research station in the Denali system. We believe it's heading toward the Arcturus sector next." Rogers felt his stomach tighten. Arcturus was only 2 systems away from Earth. Any survivors this time? 1. A Zarelian. Scientist. He said the Warbeast asked questions. Questions? Rogers frowned. About what? About humans. Specifically about Earth and human children. The cold of space seemed to seep into Rogers' bones. He thought of his wife Ellen and their 5-year-old daughter Lucy, back home in their small house outside Chicago. The image of Lucy playing in the backyard with her stuffed rabbit made his chest hurt. "We need to stop it before it reaches any human worlds," Rogers said. "That's why I'm contacting you," said Admiral Pax. "The Galactic Council has given us new orders. Your ship will join the main battle group. We're going to try to trap the Warbeast near the Jovian moons." Rogers knew what that meant. They were going to make their stand at Jupiter, the last line of defense before Earth. "We'll be ready, Admiral." After the communication ended, Rogers called his second-in-command to the bridge. Kelly Wilson was short, strong, and had never lost her cool in the 5 years they'd served together. Her brown hair was cut short in the standard military style, and her eyes showed the same tiredness that Rogers felt. "The Warbeast is heading toward human space," Rogers told her quietly, away from the other bridge crew. "And it's asking questions about us, about our children." Wilson's face hardened. "Why? What could it want with kids?" Rogers shook his head. "I don't know. But I'm told the Krelvorians designed the Warbeast to learn, to adapt. Maybe it's studying us, trying to find weaknesses." "How do you fight something like that?" Wilson asked. "The reports say it's 3 meters tall with armor that can withstand direct hits from plasma cannons. It can think and plan. No one has even managed to wound it." Rogers had no answer. The Warbeast was created by the Krelvorians, a species known throughout the galaxy for their military might. They had made 12 of these monsters before deciding even they had gone too far. 11 had been destroyed in various conflicts over the centuries. Only one remained, the one called Razorclaw, and now it was hunting humans. Rogers looked at the star map. The Challenger would reach the Jupiter defense line in 48 hours. He should try to sleep before then. "I'll be in my quarters," he told Wilson. "Call me if anything changes." In his small room, Rogers sat on the edge of his bed and took out a small hologram projector. He turned it on, and the smiling faces of Ellen and Lucy appeared in the air before him. The recording was from Lucy's 5th birthday, 3 months ago. "Say hi to Daddy," Ellen said in the recording, her blonde hair shining in the sunlight. She was looking at the camera, her green eyes bright with happiness. "Hi, Daddy." Lucy waved, her small face serious for a moment before breaking into a wide smile that showed her missing front tooth. "When are you coming home? I want to show you my new drawings." Rogers touched the hologram, his fingers passing through the light. "Soon," he whispered, though he knew the recording couldn't hear him. "I hope it's soon." He turned off the projector and lay back on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Why was the Warbeast interested in human children? What could the most dangerous weapon in the galaxy want with kids? Sleep didn't come easily, and when it did, his dreams were filled with the image of a monster stalking through quiet neighborhoods, looking for something it couldn't find. The next morning, Rogers was back on the bridge when the alarm started blaring. "Report!" he shouted over the noise. "Sir, we're picking up a distress signal," said the communications officer, a young man named Sam Baker. "It's from Outpost 7 in the Denali system." "Put it through," Rogers ordered. Static filled the bridge speakers, then a panicked voice broke through. "This is Dr. Lin from Research Outpost 7. The Warbeast is here. It's asking about human neural development in children. It's killing everyone who can't answer its questions. Please, we need—" The transmission cut off. "Get me Admiral Pax," Rogers said, his voice tight. When the Admiral's face appeared on the screen, Rogers could see he had already heard the message. "Change of plans, Commander," said Pax. "The Warbeast isn't heading to Arcturus. The attack on the research station wasn't random. It's going straight to Earth." Rogers finished the thought. Admiral Pax nodded grimly. "Your ship is the closest. You need to get back to your homeworld as fast as possible. The rest of the fleet will follow, but you might be the only defense Earth has for the next 12 hours. The communication ended. Rogers turned to his navigation officer. "Set course for Earth maximum speed." As the Challenger turned and its engines flared to life, Rogers looked back at the stars. Somewhere out there, the most dangerous creature in the galaxy was heading toward his home, toward his family, toward his daughter. "Hang on, Lucy," he whispered. "Dad's coming home." The Challenger raced through space toward Earth. The ship shook as its engines pushed beyond safe limits. Commander Rogers stood on the bridge, his hands gripping the edge of the command console. His knuckles were white from the pressure. "Status. Report," he said. Lieutenant Baker looked up from his screen. "We're still 6 hours from Earth, Commander. The Warbeast's ship is faster. It will arrive before us." Rogers closed his eyes for a moment. 6 hours. Too long. He opened a communication. "Channel to Earth Defense Command. This is Commander Rogers of the Challenger. The Warbeast is heading toward Earth. You need to prepare your defenses immediately." The face of General Howard appeared on the screen. He was an older man with gray hair and deep lines on his face. "We received Admiral Pax's warning. We're deploying all available ships and orbital platforms. What can you tell us about this Warbeast?" Rogers took a deep breath. "It's not like anything you've faced before. It stands 3 meters tall with reinforced armor plating that can withstand direct plasma hits. It can think and plan. It adapts to whatever weapons are used against it." "What does it want?" asked the general. "We don't know exactly. But it's been asking questions about human children, about how they think, how their brains develop." General Howard's expression darkened. "I don't like the sound of that." "Neither do I," said Rogers. "I need to ask a favor, General. My family lives outside Chicago. My wife Ellen and my daughter Lucy. Can you make sure they're moved to a secure location?" The general nodded. "I'll send a team right away, and Rogers, we'll hold the line until you get here." When the communication ended, Kelly Wilson approached Rogers. "Sir, we've received the Warbeast's attack pattern analysis from Admiral Pax." Rogers looked at the data on the screen. The Warbeast was methodical. It would first target military installations to evaluate defensive capabilities. Then it would attack civilian areas, usually focusing on research centers, universities, or schools. "It's studying us," Rogers said quietly. "Learning how we think, how we fight." "But why the interest in children?" Wilson asked. Rogers shook his head. "I don't know, but we need to be ready for whatever it's planning." 4 hours later, the first reports of the attack reached the Challenger. The Warbeast's ship had appeared in Earth's orbit and immediately destroyed 3 defense satellites. Then it had landed outside Chicago. Earth's military forces had engaged it, but the reports were grim. Tanks destroyed, aircraft shot down, soldiers killed by the dozens. Rogers tried to contact his home but couldn't get through. The communications systems in that area were down. "Commander," said Lieutenant Baker, his voice tense, "we're receiving a message from Admiral Pax. The rest of the fleet is still 8 hours away." Rogers nodded grimly. "We're on our own." When the Challenger reached Earth orbit, Rogers and Wilson led a team of 20 soldiers to a dropship. They would land near Chicago and try to stop the Warbeast on the ground. "This is probably a one-way trip," Rogers told his team as they prepared their weapons. That thing has destroyed everything sent against it, but it's heading toward populated areas. Toward our families, we have to try. No one spoke, but they all nodded. They knew the odds. The dropship entered Earth's atmosphere, fire streaking past its windows. Rogers checked his weapon, a heavy plasma rifle. He knew it probably wouldn't be enough, but it was all they had. They landed in a field outside the city. Smoke rose from several areas. They could hear explosions and the sound of weapons fire. "Baker, stay with the ship," Rogers ordered. "The rest of you with me." They moved through the field toward the sound of fighting. In the distance, Rogers could see the shape of the Warbeast. It was just as the reports described, a massive creature with dark, armored skin that seemed to absorb the light around it. Its movements were quick and precise as it tore through a line of tanks. Rogers raised his hand and his team stopped. "We need to draw it away from the city. Wilson, take half the team and circle around to the east. I'll take the rest and approach from the west." Wilson nodded and moved away with her group. Rogers led his soldiers toward the Warbeast, keeping low in the tall grass. They were about 500 meters away when Rogers felt his communication device vibrate. He checked it and saw a message from General Howard. "We couldn't reach your family in time. The Warbeast is moving toward your neighborhood." Rogers felt as if the ground had dropped away beneath him. The Warbeast was heading toward his home, toward Ellen and Lucy. "Change of plans," he told his team. "We need to move faster." They ran toward the city, no longer trying to hide. Rogers knew his house was on the other side of the small lake near the center of the town. If they could cut through the main street, they might get there in time. As they entered the city, they could see the destruction. Buildings were damaged, cars overturned, but strangely there were few bodies. The Warbeast wasn't just killing, it was searching for something. They turned a corner and stopped. The Warbeast stood in the middle of the street, its back to them. It was examining a school bus, ripping the roof off to look inside. "On my mark," Rogers whispered to his team. "Aim for the joints where the armor seems thinner." Before he could give the order, the Warbeast turned. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural blue light. It looked at them for a moment, then simply turned and walked away, moving with purpose toward the lake, toward Rogers' home. "Fire!" Rogers shouted. Plasma bolts hit the Warbeast from behind. They left black marks on its armor but didn't slow it down. It didn't even turn to fight. It just kept walking, focused on its goal. Rogers and his team followed, firing continuously. The Warbeast ignored them completely. When they reached the lake, Rogers could see his house on the other side. The front door was open. "No," he whispered. The Warbeast reached the house first. It tore through the wall like it was made of paper and went inside. Rogers ran faster than he ever had in his life, across the bridge over the lake, through yards and gardens, until he reached his home. Inside, he found Ellen lying on the floor of the living room. She was unconscious but alive. There was a cut on her forehead, but otherwise she seemed unhurt. But Lucy was nowhere to be seen. A crash from the backyard made Rogers run through the kitchen. The glass door to the yard was broken, and there, standing in Ellen's garden, was the Warbeast. Rogers stepped through the broken glass door, his plasma rifle ready. His heart was beating so hard he could feel it in his throat. In the garden, the massive shape of the Warbeast stood with its back to him, looking down at something, or someone. Lucy was standing in the middle of the garden in her blue pajamas with little stars on them. She was holding her stuffed rabbit, the one Rogers had given her before he left for his mission. Her dark hair was messy, and her small face was serious as she looked up at the monster that towered over her. "Lucy!" Rogers shouted, raising his weapon. "Run!" The Warbeast turned its head, its blue eyes glowing. It didn't move to attack. It just watched as Rogers approached, his rifle pointed at its head. "Step away from my daughter," Rogers said, his voice shaking with fear and anger. The Warbeast's voice came out as a strange mix of sounds, like metal grinding against stone. "This small human does not fear me." Rogers moved slowly to the side, trying to get between the creature and Lucy. "Lucy, come to Dad now." But Lucy didn't move. She looked at her father, then back at the Warbeast. Are you a robot? She asked the creature, her voice small but clear. The Warbeast tilted its head. I am a weapon, created to destroy. Lucy nodded as if this made perfect sense to her. My dad fights robots sometimes, but he says not all robots are bad. Rogers was now only a few steps away from Lucy. Honey, please come here. The Warbeast watched them both. I have destroyed 17 fleet groups. I have ended the lives of thousands of soldiers. All who face me are afraid, except this small human. Lucy looked up at the creature. You're being mean. That's why Dad has to stop you. Rogers reached Lucy and pulled her behind him. He kept his weapon aimed at the Warbeast, though he knew it probably wouldn't do much good. Why are you here? Rogers asked. Why are you interested in human children? The Warbeast's eyes seemed to glow brighter. The Krelvorians made us to learn, to adapt, to become stronger, but we have a flaw. We cannot evolve beyond our programming. What does that have to do with children? Your species is different. Human children develop neural pathways that allow for moral reasoning, for empathy. These are concepts outside my programming. I needed to understand. Rogers felt Lucy tugging at his leg. He glanced down briefly. Dad, she whispered. He's like the dog at Grandma's house, the one that was mean because no one taught him to be nice. Rogers looked back at the Warbeast. It hadn't moved. It was just watching them, studying them. Is that why you've been attacking our worlds? Rogers asked. To learn about us? To understand what makes humans different, the Warbeast said. Your species is physically weak. Your technology is not advanced, yet you spread across the galaxy faster than any species since the ancients. You adapt without changing your physical form. Lucy stepped out from behind Rogers before he could stop her. Lucy, no. Rogers reached for her, but she was already walking toward the Warbeast. The creature looked down at her. It could have killed her with a single swipe of its massive hand. Instead, it lowered itself slightly as if to get a better look. You're too big, Lucy said to it. You're scary. The Warbeast's head tilted again. Fear is a useful tool in combat. Lucy shook her head. Not if you want friends. No one wants to be friends with scary things. Rogers stood frozen, his weapon still raised but his finger off the trigger. He didn't understand what was happening. The most dangerous creature in the galaxy was having a conversation with his 5-year-old daughter. I was not made for friendship, the Warbeast said. I was made for war. Lucy clutched her stuffed rabbit tighter. That's sad. Everyone should have friends. The Warbeast was silent for a moment. The Krelvorians who made me had no friends, only enemies and slaves. That's why they were mean, Lucy said, nodding as if this explained everything. Mean people don't have friends. Rogers heard sounds behind him. Wilson and the rest of the team had arrived. They spread out around the yard, weapons ready. Commander? Wilson asked quietly. What's happening? Rogers raised his hand to signal them not to fire. I don't know, he whispered. Lucy was still looking up at the Warbeast. If you stop being mean, you can have friends. The Warbeast's glowing eyes flickered. My programming does not include friendship protocols. It's easy, Lucy said. You just have to be nice and follow rules. Rules, Lucy nodded seriously. Like no breaking things and no hurting people. And you have to share toys. Rogers couldn't believe what he was hearing. His daughter was trying to teach morality to a killing machine. And, Lucy added, when grown-ups tell you to do something, you have to listen. The Warbeast seemed to consider this. The Krelvorians gave me commands I was programmed to obey. But they told you to be mean, Lucy said. That's a bad rule. The Warbeast was silent again. Its massive form seemed less threatening somehow, as if it were deep in thought. Rogers slowly moved closer to Lucy. Honey, come back to me now. Lucy looked at him. Dad, I think he's confused. No one taught him good rules. The Warbeast's voice rumbled again. The small human speaks of concepts outside my programming parameters. More soldiers had arrived. Rogers could see them surrounding the house, taking positions. General Howard was with them, giving orders quietly. They were preparing to attack. Rogers knew it wouldn't be enough. The Warbeast had destroyed entire fleets. A few dozen soldiers wouldn't even slow it down. "Lucy," Rogers said softly, "please come here." But Lucy was still looking at the Warbeast. She pointed a small finger at it. "You're being bad," she said firmly. "Sit." The command hung in the air, simple and clear, and to Rogers' complete shock, the Warbeast, the destroyer of fleets, the nightmare of 17 species, slowly, awkwardly, sat down on the grass. Lucy nodded, satisfied. "Good." Everyone in the garden was frozen in place. The soldiers with their weapons pointed, Commander Rogers with his mouth open in shock, and the Warbeast, the most dangerous creature in the galaxy, sitting obediently on the grass like an oversized dog. Lucy nodded again and turned to her father. "See? He just needed someone to tell him the rules." Rogers slowly lowered his weapon. "Lucy," he said carefully, "how did you know it would listen to you?" Lucy shrugged. "He looks scary, but his eyes are sad. Like the dog at Grandma's that no one wanted because he was too big." General Howard stepped forward, his own weapon still aimed at the Warbeast. "Commander Rogers, what is happening here?" Rogers shook his head, still not believing what he was seeing. "I'm not sure, sir, but I think my daughter just tamed it." The Warbeast remained seated, its glowing blue eyes focused on Lucy. "This command, sit. It was not in my original programming. But you did it anyway," Rogers said. "Yes." The small human spoke with certainty. There was no fear, no doubt. "All others I have encountered have shown fear." Wilson moved closer to Rogers. "Sir, this doesn't make sense. This thing has destroyed entire fleets. How can it be stopped by a simple command from a child?" Before Rogers could answer, Admiral Pax's voice came through his communication device. "Commander Rogers, our ships are entering Earth orbit now. What is your status?" Rogers looked at the Warbeast sitting calmly in his garden, then at Lucy, who was watching it with curious eyes. "Admiral, the situation has changed. The Warbeast is contained for now. Please hold your position and do not attack." "Contained? How?" The Admiral's voice was filled with disbelief. "It's hard to explain, sir. I think you should come and see for yourself." While they waited for Admiral Pax to arrive, Rogers tried to understand what had happened. He sat on the garden steps, with Lucy beside him, while the Warbeast remained seated on the grass. The soldiers kept their weapons ready, but the tension had eased somewhat. "Lucy," Rogers said gently, "what made you think it would listen when you told it to sit?" Lucy played with her stuffed rabbit's ears. "He was looking at me funny, like he was trying to figure something out. So I treated him like when I met Grandma's big dog. Dad, can I give him a name? We can't just call him it." Rogers blinked in surprise. "I don't think I'll call him Max," Lucy decided. She looked at the Warbeast. "Your name is Max now." The Warbeast tilted its massive head. "Max, this is a designation." "It's your name," Lucy said firmly. "Everyone needs a name. I was designated." "Razorclaw by my creators," Lucy made a face. "That's a mean name. Max is better." Ellen had been taken to a medical team when she regained consciousness. She now returned to the garden, her head bandaged. She stopped short when she saw the Warbeast. "Alan?" she said, her voice shaking. "What?" "It's okay," Rogers said quickly, moving to her side. "It's under control." Ellen looked at Lucy, sitting calmly near the monster. "Lucy, come here right now." Lucy looked up. "Mom, this is Max. He was being bad, but now he's learning to be good." Ellen grabbed Roger's arm. "Have you all lost your minds? That thing destroyed half the city." "I know," Roger said softly. "But something's happening here that we don't understand. It's obeying Lucy." General Howard approached them. "Mrs. Rogers, we have the situation contained. Your daughter appears to have some kind of control over the creature." "Control? She's 5 years old." Ellen's voice rose with fear and anger. The Warbeast spoke again, its strange voice making everyone tense. The adult humans show fear. This is the expected response. But the small human does not fear. This is new. Lucy stood up and walked toward the Warbeast. Both Rogers and Ellen moved to stop her, but she was already standing in front of the massive creature. "Max," she said. "You hurt people, that's very bad." The Warbeast was silent for a moment. "I was created to hurt, to destroy." "Well, you have to stop now," Lucy said, her small face serious. "Hurting is wrong." "Wrong. This concept is not in my programming." Lucy thought for a moment, her brow furrowed. "Do you feel bad when you hurt someone?" The Warbeast seemed confused by the question. "Feel bad? I do not understand. Like when you do something you're not supposed to, and then your tummy feels funny. That's feeling bad." Admiral Pax arrived then, surrounded by a group of armed guards. The tall Andorian stopped when he saw the scene in the garden. "This is impossible," he said. "That creature has destroyed entire worlds." Rogers stepped forward. "Admiral, something unprecedented is happening. The Warbeast is responding to my daughter. It's listening to her." Admiral Pax looked at Lucy standing before the seated Warbeast. "How? Why?" "We don't know yet," Rogers admitted. "But I think it has something to do with the way children think. The Warbeast said it was studying human children because they develop neural pathways for moral reasoning, for empathy." The Admiral's metallic blue face showed his confusion. "And this helps it how?" "The Krelvorians created the Warbeasts to learn and adapt," Rogers explained. "But there was a flaw in their design. They couldn't evolve beyond their original programming. They couldn't develop morality or empathy on their own." Lucy was still talking to the Warbeast. "Max, stand up," she commanded. The Warbeast slowly rose to its full height, towering over everyone in the garden. "Now," Lucy said, "you have to say, sorry to everyone for being mean." The Warbeast looked around at the gathered humans and aliens. Its glowing eyes passed over each face. Then, in its strange, grinding voice, it said, "I apologize, Yorn, for the harm I have caused." Lucy nodded, satisfied. "Good. Now you have to promise not to hurt anyone again." The Warbeast was silent for a long moment. "My purpose is to destroy. Without this purpose, what am I?" Lucy thought about this, her face serious. Then she smiled. "You can be my friend." Admiral Pax stepped closer to Rogers. "Commander, this is unprecedented. The creature has killed thousands. It cannot simply be forgiven." "I know, Admiral," Rogers said quietly. "But we're witnessing something extraordinary here. A connection we don't understand yet." The Warbeast was still looking at Lucy. "Friend, this concept was not in my programming, but I wish to understand it." Lucy nodded. "Friends help each other, and they don't hurt each other. Ever." "I will try," the Warbeast said. "I will try to be Max." 3 months had passed since the day Lucy Rogers told the most dangerous creature in the galaxy to sit. Much had changed in that time. The garden behind the Rogers house had a new structure in it now. A large shelter built to house Max, as the Warbeast was now known to everyone. The shelter was big enough for the 3-meter-tall creature to move around comfortably, with reinforced walls and a door that opened only from the inside. Not that Max tried to leave without permission anymore. That had been one of the first rules Lucy had taught him. Commander Rogers sat at the kitchen table watching through the window as Lucy played in the garden with Max. The Warbeast moved carefully around the small girl, its massive form somehow managing to seem gentle now. Ellen placed a cup of coffee in front of her husband. "The representatives from the Galactic Council are coming today, aren't they?" Rogers nodded. "Admiral Pax and delegates from 17 worlds. They want to see Max's progress for themselves." Ellen sat across from him. "Are you worried?" "A little," Rogers admitted. "Some of the species lost entire colonies to Max before he changed. They might not be as willing to forgive as we have been." Outside, Lucy was showing Max how to water her mother's flowers. The Warbeast held the watering can awkwardly in its massive hands, trying not to spill. It was strange to see those same hands, which had torn through battlecruisers and crushed tanks, now carefully tending to delicate plants. "He's really trying," Ellen said softly. "It's almost hard to believe he's the same creature that attacked Earth." Rogers smiled. "Lucy says he was just confused, that no one ever taught him how to be good." A car pulled up outside their house. Admiral Pax stepped out, followed by a group of aliens from different worlds. Rogers recognized some of them: the insectoid Vrek, the crystalline luminari, and others he had seen on the command ship months ago. "They're here," Rogers said, standing up. "I'll go greet them." Ellen touched his arm. "Should I call Lucy in?" Rogers shook his head. "No. Let them. See her with Max. That's what they came for, after all." Admiral Pax was the first to enter the garden, his tall blue form moving carefully between Ellen's flower beds. The other delegates followed, their various alien forms creating a strange procession through the suburban yard. Lucy looked up and furred him. "Hi, Admiral Pax. Look, I'm teaching Max how to garden." The Andorian nodded stiffly. "I see that, Lucy Rogers." Max set down the watering can and turned to face the visitors. His glowing blue eyes passed over each delegate. "Greetings," he said in his strange voice, which had become somewhat smoother over the past months. "Welcome to the Rogers residence." One of the delegates, a wreck with shimmering green exoskeleton, stepped forward. "This is the creature that destroyed our colony on Nexus Prime, that killed 10,000 of my people?" Lucy moved to stand next to Max. "He was bad before. He's learning to be good now." The wreck's compound eyes flickered. "Learning? It is a weapon, designed for destruction. It cannot learn morality." "That's not true," Lucy said firmly. "Max learns new things every day. Show them, Max." The Warbeast nodded and turned to a small box near his shelter. He opened it carefully and took out a piece of paper. He handed it to Admiral Pax. "I have created this," Max said. "Lucy has been teaching me to draw." Admiral Pax looked at the paper. On it was a simple but recognizable drawing of Lucy and Max standing together in the garden. The lines were somewhat clumsy, as if drawn by hands unused to holding anything as delicate as a crayon. "Art?" The Admiral looked confused. "The Warbeast creates art now?" "His name is Max," Lucy corrected. "And yes, he likes to draw. He says it helps him think." Rogers stepped forward. "The scientists have been studying Max for months now. They believe the Krelvorians built more into the Warbeasts than they realized. The capacity for emotional and moral development was there, just dormant, until a human child activated it," Admiral Pax said thoughtfully. The Luminari delegate, her crystalline body catching the sunlight, moved closer to Max. "How do we know this is not some kind of deception, a tactic to lower our guard?" Max looked at her. "I understand your fear. I was created to inspire fear, but I am learning to be more than my programming." Lucy tugged on Max's massive hand. "Tell them about your promise." Max nodded. "I have promised Lucy Rogers that I will never harm another living being again. I have promised to help repair the damage I have caused if I am allowed to do so." The delegates looked at each other. Rogers could see the doubt in their alien faces, the hesitation. "There's something else you should know," Rogers said. "Max has been sharing information with us. Details about Krelvorian technology, their military strategies, their weaknesses. Information that could help protect our worlds if they ever return." This got the delegates' attention. The Krelvorians had disappeared from the galaxy centuries ago, but the fear of their return had never fully faded. Admiral Pax turned to Max. "You would betray your creators?" "The Krelvorians did not create me to serve them," Max said. "They created me to destroy their enemies. They never considered that I might develop the capacity to choose." Lucy smiled up at the massive creature. "Max chooses to be good now." The delegates spoke among themselves in low voices. Rogers couldn't hear what they were saying, but he could see the change in their postures, the slight relaxation of tension. Finally, Admiral Pax addressed Rogers. The Galactic Council has been discussing what to do about Max for months. Some wanted him destroyed, others wanted him imprisoned, but what we are seeing here is unprecedented. He's my friend, Lucy said simply. Friends take care of each other. The Vrek delegate's antennae twitched. The child speaks of friendship with a being created for war. Perhaps there is more we could learn from humans than we realized. Admiral Pax nodded. The Council has decided. Max will remain here, under the supervision of the Rogers family and Earth's military. If his progress continues, we may consider allowing him more freedom in the future. Lucy clapped her hands. Did you hear that, Max? You can stay. Max looked down at the small girl. I heard, Lucy Rogers. Thank you for teaching me. Later, after the delegates had left, Rogers sat with Ellen on the garden steps. They watched as Lucy showed Max how to make a daisy chain, the Warbeast's massive fingers struggling with the delicate task. What do you think will happen now? Ellen asked quietly. Rogers put his arm around her shoulders. I don't know. The scientists say Max is just the beginning. That what Lucy unlocked in him might change how we understand artificial intelligence, maybe even consciousness itself. All because she told him to sit, Ellen said with a small laugh. Rogers smiled. Lucy sees the good in everything, even in a warbeast. In the garden, Lucy was placing her finished daisy chain on Max's massive head like a crown. The fearsome creature that had once brought terror to the galaxy sat patiently, letting the small human child decorate him. Max, Lucy said, stepping back to admire her work. You look pretty now. Thank you, Lucy Rogers, Max said, his glowing eyes somehow softer now. I am learning that there is more to existence than destruction. There is beauty. Lucy nodded seriously. And ice cream. Don't forget about ice cream. I have not forgotten, Max assured her. Ice cream is important. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the garden, Rogers thought about how the galaxy had changed, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through the simple, unshakable moral certainty of a child. The Warbeast had defied all, until a human child simply said, sit. And in teaching a creature of war how to be gentle, maybe Lucy had taught the rest of them something too.